Welcome to What the Health? Where anything health is fair game as we tackle the trends and bust the myths about health and wellness. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dan and Angela Toro.
And welcome back to another What the Health podcast. I am Dr. Dan here with my two other co-hosts.
Angela.
Dr. Riley.
I forgot their names for a second, folks.
You pointed
We're
to
off
you.
to a good start.
All right.
Okay.
Nice. Anyway.
As you guys know, we're here for informational purposes only, in no way offering individualized medical advice. Always talk to your trusted healthcare provider before making changes. So with that being said.
Talking about daily desk disciplines. There, I said it, and I'll say it once more at the end, and we will leave it at that. Ergonomics, if anyone has heard that term before, it's basically the position that your daily workspace is in. So if you're sitting at a desk, how are you sitting or standing? If you have, another, profession that you do, it has everything to do with how are you, using your body on a daily basis. We all have the opportunity of, having professions that we get to be up and down and moving around every day. So we're not stuck in that desk space. But so many of our listeners, I would assume, are in front of a computer for 8 to 10 plus hours a day. And so we want to discuss how can we help to optimize, your posture, your ergonomics, so that you're basically keeping your body as fit and controlled and healthy as possible in that sedentary time in front of your computer. So with that being said, I would say one of the things that we all recommend are the standing desk. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You went to that a while back, right?
Oh, yeah.
So do you want to explain a little bit about how you came across that and what... actually, we're sitting around your original standing desk that we... Sitting around the standing desk, yes. But that's a good point that we want to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured that out. So I used to work in research, and when I was a research assistant, I was running around a lot. And then when I got to the point that I was a program manager, I was the one stuck at the desk doing more of the behind the scenes stuff, less of the on scene stuff. And I just found... going that drastic change of going from, running around every day, getting, 10, 20,000 steps without even thinking about it to now all of a sudden sitting all day. It really was just physically and mentally, I noticed a huge difference. So, I brought it up to my boss at the time and was able to get one. And then it was funny because pretty much everybody in the office, I think, got one after me. But it makes a big... Physically, sitting, I think, is just one of the worst positions to be in. I hate sitting. I'm pretty much standing or laying down. These are the two positions I want to be in. Sitting, it was hard on the back, shoulders. So with the standing desk, being able to have that ability to be in a standing position and have more control over, I feel like it was easier to get the screen at the right height and just different keyboards at the right height, things so that I wasn't in that kind of hunched over seated position all day.
Yeah, so define that right height when you're talking about right height. Like, what's the difference or the problem sitting in terms of monitor and placement of keyboard and mouse and sitting versus standing.
Even if you're sitting, you can still do things to get the screen at the right height. The big thing is you should be looking directly straight at your screen, not down. And I think the problem is a lot of desks. Even, how we have the setup back here, even when it's in the seated position, the screen's at the right height versus before, because I don't know, I'm trying to describe what I'm looking at here, but it's
probably 4 or 5 inches off.
The monitor on the original desk height was way too low for me.
Which even if your head, if you drop your eyes, and your chin down, even, 10, 15 degrees, that makes a massive difference in terms of the biomechanics of the neck, and the musculature in the upper back and how that has to hold your head as your head drops forward. So So I notice that even when I'm driving, like if my head starts to drop, as soon as your head starts to come forward, and this is well documented in research, for every 1 inch, the center of mass, the center of your head, and when we look at an X-ray, there's a spot on there called the sella turcica, which basically houses the pituitary gland, but we use that as the center mass of the head. So when you look at an X-ray, if that sella turcica is 1 inch out in front of your neck, that 1 inch equates to an additional 10 pounds that the musculature in the back of your neck and upper back have to hold and engage to hold your head up. So 2 inches would be an additional 20 pounds. So, even taking your head from neutral to, a 10-degree drop, looking down at a screen, you could be taking it from a neutral position to a 1 or 2 inch of forward head carry, and that could equal an additional 10 to 20 pounds plus the weight of the head, which is 10 to 15 pounds in your average human being. So you could go from 10 to 15 pounds in a neutral position to 25 to 35 pounds that you're holding, and again, no problem for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, but doing that over 8 to 10 hours a day. And of course, we all know that as soon as you drop your head a little bit, you don't stay like that. You just continue to move forward. The eyes get tired and you're looking closer at the screen. And so it just continues to spiral out of control from there. So, one of the analogies that we use is a bowling ball, right? Just hold a bowling ball in your hand, even, 8-pound bowling ball. Use a little pink bowling ball, the 6-pounder. Hold that bowling ball with your elbow directly under your hand, okay, with the bowling ball next to your shoulder. You could hold that there pretty good for, a while. Now take that bowling ball out and, start extending your arm so that the bowling ball is out in front of you with a straight arm. Okay. How long could you hold that 6-pound bowling ball out there? Not very long. So, again, as soon as that head starts to come forward, whether you're seated or standing, you're really adding a lot of stress. And that's where, in addition to all the biochemical stress that we get through eating, the physical stress and strain of just having that additional, stress and strain on the musculature with that forward head can really cause a lot of late morning, early afternoon fatigue to where you need to grab that extra cup of coffee.
Yeah. And with the standing desk, I think it's kind of a good thing to emphasize correct posture. So if you're standing there, I know even for me, I catch myself throwing my hips forward a little bit when I'm standing, just to kind of take the weak core out of it, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I think a great kind of checkpoint for you if you're using a standing desk would be, ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over knees, knees over ankles, just trying to keep that perfect line from top to bottom. And that ears over shoulders would be especially good for even if you're sitting. If you check yourself every so often, don't move and be like, all right, is my ears above my shoulders? And if they're not, then pull that head back. I think that's kind of a great, at least initial start for ergonomics and the desk area for work.
Yeah. Well, and what I, to extend on that, and again, if you're seated, even if you are seated, you can do, ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips.
Yeah.
And again, you start going forward. You can correct that. And so bringing up posture, two points. So the one is posture awareness, right? A lot of people ask us about, well, do you like any of those posture, braces where you put on your shoulders and they hold your shoulders back? And the short answer is no, I don't like those because, if you put any muscle in a cast or a brace, the muscle atrophies. It gets smaller and weaker over time. So if you rely on that brace to where you're, to hold your shoulders back, but you aren't actively engaging, the shoulders back and down position, then, your musculature is just going to continue to get weak. So I much prefer, if you do want to use a posture awareness device, the ones that you can actually clip on the back of your shirt or, so as soon as you start to change the angle of your shoulders and upper back, it'll start to buzz. And it just gives you a little cue okay, got to sit up now.
Or have your coworkers come smack.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of us, I've got.
Apparently that's what we're implementing in the office.
I know that if I am sitting, at my desk for even 20 minutes, I'm looking at X-rays or something, and I start leaning
we're
forward.
also
It's like,
like as soon as we
but I
sit.
feel it, so I know it's like, I got to sit up. If you are sitting down, we'll go back to the standing desk because there was another point that I wanted to make. But if you are sitting down, I think the other thing that's important, and whether this is sitting at a desk, if you're a driver, so there's lots of drivers, with delivery now for, different companies, Amazon, FedEx, UPS, DoorDash. Yeah. Now, at least the advantage of those is you're hopefully getting up
You're
and
in
getting
and out.
out. Yeah, you're in and out.
Shorter trips.
But you're still, you're still in that seated position and you're bouncing around on the road. So one of the big things I always tell people is if you are sitting, I always do. We talked about ab bracing in the podcast right before this, but it's like, engaging your butt muscles, literally doing butt crunches where you're squeezing your butt together, and engaging your quads. Where a lot of people don't even know how to engage a muscle. Like they don't know how to engage the different muscles on their body. And without moving your body, there are ways that you can engage those muscles. And again, we talk about, intellectual versus physical intelligence. A lot of people are very low IQ when it comes to physical intelligence. So just being able to help people understand how to engage.
I'm doing my butt crunch.
She's doing her butt crunches.
I was like, right, left, right.
Now together.
I was doing the Cupid shuffle. Take it back now. All right.
Take it back
I'm
now,
sorry.
y'all.
I apologize.
Anyway, where was I? Oh, so yeah, when you are sitting, because going back to the standing desk, I like these desks that have the option to do both, okay? Because we talk about adaptation all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, adaptation is the simplest definition of health. No one is going to stay, uniform throughout their life, even something like heart rate variability is a measurement of, when your heart beats. And the more variable it is related to better health and better health outcomes. So the more we have the ability to adapt to different situations, the better, stronger, more resilient we are going to be, and the healthier we're going to be. So when we're looking at this, standing desk, I like the option to go from a sit to a stand. That way you're engaging different muscle groups, differently throughout the day. So, when you are seated, it's okay to give your feet a break. We'll get to the feet in a second, but like when you're, sitting down, engaging, the butt and the quad muscles, which you can almost do, like if you're sitting in your chair and you would just start to engage the muscles as if you were going to stand up, but not stand up. That's how you can engage those muscles while you're sitting there. You can do ab bracing, like we talked about in the last podcast. Engaging those stomach muscles as if you're going to get punched in the gut, but you can hold that while you're sitting there. You can do both of those in a standing position too. So being able to,
I think engaging the chest and back muscles too.
Absolutely.
Again, you talked about once you're using a brace, use your muscles.
Yes.
Like people are like, how do I maintain that? You engage.
Yeah, you pull the muscle. Yeah, pulling the shoulder the shoulder
Yeah.
blades to the spine is the simplest way to think about it.
You don't want to. You don't want to go so extreme that you're putting extra strain.
Yeah, you start to shake.
Yeah, you just
like,
want
back up.
Yeah, but you want to engage again
to get to the position.
Yes, like you should feel that. Like as soon as you sit upright, you're like, oh, okay, I can feel.
Yeah, it is. It's really amazing. Like when I, help to educate someone on what normal posture is, and they're like, oh, because it feels so awkward.
It feels so weird, yeah.
Because
most of us
it's like their shoulders. It's just like that rounded shoulder position. And it's men and women, but women especially if they have a large chest, tend to, first of all, bra straps are constantly pulling down on the traps. But it's just like you naturally go into this like forward, chest contracted, shoulders forward position. And it's just kind of like an easy posture to get into, but it's so bad because you have this elongated, weakened position of your back muscles. And again, you sit in that position for 20 minutes, okay, no big deal. But sit in that for 8 hours a day for 3 years, for a year, you're going to do some major damage to, your health and well-being. So, so the ability to change, going back to that point, getting a lot of these desks just mechanically, they have the ability to go up and down. I really like that, option to go up and down. As you talked about, when you are standing, you're engaging the leg muscles more, which again is very, very important for lymphatic flow and venous return, the blood flow from the lower, extremities all the way back up through the body. And again, if you're sitting all day and these muscles aren't pumping, you literally get more pulling of blood down into your lower extremities. That's why you have so many people struggle with edema, pitting edema in their, where your ankles and feet swell, because they're sitting for hours upon years and years throughout their life. So getting up and engaging those muscles literally help to pump the blood throughout your body, which is good for mental clarity. It's good for, cardiovascular. It's good for digestion. It's good for so many things throughout your system. So, and then again, if you're standing for, an hour or two and then want to sit for, 10, 15, 20, half hour, it's fine. But making sure that you have that ability to go up and down. A lot of these, again, either mechanically, you can flip a lever and it can pop up and down real easily. Or a lot of them now are electronic and you can, press a button and you can probably even set the height of the desk too, based on your height. So, any other keys on that before I?
No, it's the ability to do both, I think, is probably the most beneficial. Like you said, with the feet, I think you were going to talk about proper shoe wear and stuff.
So that's a good point if you want to talk about that, Dr.
Yeah,
Riley.
just not, because I don't think a lot of offices have carpet or anything, that's beneficial to your feet. And so finding the good footwear, that helps with the support of the foot and stuff. And I think that would be the one downfall of standing is if you don't have proper footwear.
Or you get a mat to stand on.
Yeah.
They have the mat specifically. I go back and forth too. I don't know. Some days I like using the mat, some days I don't. I have it up there, but it's and again, it kind of just depends on. So I keep the desk standing all the time, but I will switch out, like if I'm on the mat or not on the mat. But that was the one thing I did notice. It was like the shoes I had been wearing just weren't feeling great for the standing, and they're supportive, but not in the right. They weren't in the right. I love walking in them, but standing still, it was. I was getting a lot of heel pain and knee pain, and then I went with a kind of like lighter. I don't know, whatever.
Well, and to reiterate, to talk more about that, because, there was a big fad years ago, and I still think it's popular, like these barefoot shoes, with basically it looks like a glove for your foot, and it's supposed to mimic having a bare foot. The challenge with that is your feet are designed to walk over uneven surfaces. Think, dirt in the woods and leaves and grass, maybe small pebbles or, stepping over rocks. So that is much different than a, flat hardwood, stone, asphalt, concrete surface if you're in a warehouse, walking around. So it's like this idea of, or walking barefoot at home. Like, we had, when we renovated our house, we had hardwood installed all over the first floor. So we have no carpets on the first floor. If I'm doing dishes and standing at my sink in bare feet, my feet are aching because your foot is not designed to walk on a flat surface, because it just flattens out the arch. And then again, just like when you elongate a muscle, you have musculature in your feet. If you flatten that out, then they don't engage properly. If your feet aren't engaged properly, that impacts all the way up through your whole chain. So I think the reason we bring this up is there's a lot of people that might have a standing desk at home, but then they forget about they'll be at home on like a hardwood or maybe a carpet with not such supportive surface. A carpet is still a flat surface, even with a pad under it. It's better than nothing, but when you're on that flat surface and you're in bare feet or just socks, like standing for long periods of time like that can really, really break down the arch in your foot. And like you said, can cause heel pain, plantar fasciitis, ankle, knee pain, hip pain. Like, again, it's all a kinetic chain. It starts, from the bottom and works its way up. And so that can cause low back and hip and, all the way up to your neck. So, it's important that if you are going to use a standing desk, make sure that you have the proper footwear. I'll be honest, I really like Crocs.
That's been the one thing I haven't gotten any yet, but that seems to be the number one recommended thing.
They're coming out with a lot of different styles too. Which is I see a lot of patients coming in wearing Crocs. I'm like, these are Crocs. They're great support.
Yeah, it's just, now again, I wouldn't wear those when you're talking about if you need more ankle support or you're working outside. It's obviously you're not going to wear those, but just from a creating the uneven surface, it's really kind of walking around on a supportive, firm pillow, and it creates that unevenness, when you're stepping and standing, because it kind of molds to the foot like walking over uneven ground. So that's why and again, not to just harp on that, but there's lots of different, I think Skechers is another one. They've created, some of these shoe companies have this cloud technology and stuff that it's literally designed so that it kind of molds to your foot as you're standing and walking. And I think that is key when you are on a flat surface.
That's what these are. They're knockoffs, but I definitely have noticed a huge difference from the ones that, again, I wouldn't exercise in these. Yeah. But
just standing throughout your day.
I've noticed a huge difference compared to the ones I was wearing before that had a much, probably more. Actually, weirdly enough, I had more arch support, but then I was getting in a lot of the pain. It was pain in the heel and the knee. So, I have so many shoes, it's ridiculous. It's I was like, what am I doing today? What shoes do I need to wear? I hate shoes.
And I love to be barefoot, especially summertime. But again, if you're on a flat surface,
I know, it's so important.
You really, really feel that, throughout your day. So again, love the standing desk, but that's one of the keys that I talk to people about a lot is making sure that you have some support for the bottom of your feet, when you are standing on that flat surface. So something like a Croc or a Sketcher or something that's going to give you that, uneven, support. That is key for the standing desk. The one other thing that our massage therapist brought up to us was the mouse. You want to talk about that?
Well, I was the mouse and keyboard, because so again, there's different types of standing desks. So the one that we had back here we're recording right now is actually 2 different levels. So the monitor can be on a different level than the keyboard and the mouse, which is my preference because being tall, I need the screen higher. But if your keyboard and mouse are on the same level as your screen, then you have your shoulders in an elevated position. And especially if your mouse is too far out and elevated, now you're essentially just doing a arm extension all day long, which is going to lead to a lot of probably shoulder, chest.
Yeah, your shoulders roll forward, and then you can get the weakness in the scapula, the shoulder blade, and absolutely, it's just a lot. Yeah,
so that's been the big thing. Just really, you really want to make sure, again, we talked about the screen height, but you also want to make sure your keyboard and mouse are at the right height as well, so that you're not messing up your wrist, your shoulders. How do you feel about that? I know they were big for a while. I don't know if they still are. The
pads.
The pads.
I would have to defer to someone, probably personal preference. I think that if you are someone who is sitting there typing a lot of documents, if you are, an admin and you're just doing a ton of typing with emails, I could see how that pad, and I don't know if we'll maybe put a link or something, but it's the pad that goes right in front of the keyboard that ideally you would place the palms and the base of your wrist on, which would ideally keep your hands in a more neutral position rather than if the keyboard is up higher than your wrists, and your wrists are on the desk, then your wrists have to be in an extended position for long periods of time, which could lead to things like carpal tunnel, wrist pain, elbow pain. So I certainly see the concept of that, and again, I think it's probably more ergonomic based on the size of your hand in relationship to the keyboard and how often are you actually typing. Again, for most of us who are sending an email here and there, no problem. But someone who is literally their whole day is responding to emails.
Yes, do not look at our keyboard setup up front. It is not ergonomic. It is, but not doing it.
Yeah, but most of what
I'm not writing documents up there. Yeah,
exactly. So, but then so then taking that, a step further to the phone too. That's a huge. If you're on the phone for more than, I don't even like picking up my cell phone and like bringing it to my ear, because again, I even just doing that, like I tilt my head a little bit. I'm showing everyone in the audience who's listening, but like I tilt my head, so if I'm on my phone, I like to be on speakerphone. Again, if you have the ability to be in a private office, get a headset. If you're on the phone for more than an hour a day, get a headset, and use that, because holding the phone, even if the worst thing you can do is hold the phone between your ear and your shoulder. That's just terrible. But again, people who are trying to type while they're talking on the phone, they need their free hand. So again, get a headset. If you're going to be on the phone more than more than an hour a day. That's that phone, position of the mouse, position of the keyboard, also very important whether you're sitting or standing. And again, really you should be able to mimic the position between sitting and standing. The only difference is you're just going to engage the legs more when you do stand up from that desk. So, and then, we could get into driving too. I mean, that's a whole nother, and we've talked about that before, but like your driving position, I like if you're going on a long car road trip, I mean, we're heading into the holidays now. People are going to be doing some traveling. So maybe you're heading on a car ride. It's going to be longer than 3 hours. Like, hey, that sitting position is important. So, I like to make sure that my arms, my elbows are down by my side, and, I have the steering wheel closer to me, and I actually am able to sit up against my seat back. I mean, I see so many people that it's like their steering wheel is way out in front of them, and so they have to reach for their steering wheel. And again, that can make the arms go very, very heavy. If you're too far back from your pedals and you really have to reach with your leg, that can really cause some weakness and tightness in the hip, especially the outside of the hip. That can cause, sciatic issues. So it's like, get yourself into a comfortable position, when you're driving. And sometimes you need to change that position. Yeah. So it's like, if you can do it safely with an electronic thing, and, hey, I mean, there are times when I'm driving and I hit an hour or two and I'm like, I need, maybe you need to lift it up a little bit, go down a little bit, forward, backward, but just changing the position that you're driving, can really make a difference with how your muscles are engaging, especially your driving leg, that's going back and forth.
On long trips, I put the steering wheel as low as I can, because I just basically, hold it down. Yeah. But then if I hit a part where I had it on cruise control, because I have long legs, then my legs are hitting the steering wheel, so I'm like, then I have to go back. I hate.
So again, just of course do everything safely, but understand that you can change those positions, and may be beneficial for yourself to change those positions if you're doing a lot of the driving.
And if you have back and hip issues, stop. Give yourself enough time that you can stop I stop probably every 2 hours when I drive, which is why Dan and I cannot travel together. Yeah.
I'm the kind of person I'm going to go this as far as I can. Yeah, you have to pee, hold it. I can make it 30 more miles.
Dr. Riley and I were just talking about that. And for me, it's partially the having to pee, but it's the having to move. Like, I just, as somebody who does not sit for long periods ever, it is... it kills me. And so, I'll stop and I'll, just stretch out a little bit, move around a little bit. Like, it's
very beneficial.
Yes. And I think that's why I like if I'm going somewhere, I like driving because then I'm in control of the time and my stops, and I'm like, I'll get there when I get there. I don't care. I'm like,
I'm very much. I like to get
oh
there.
yeah,
The tank still has gas for driving.
Yeah, we're going. We're
I'm
going.
not never road tripping with either of these two.
So my lovely wife will look and is like, did that light just come on? Or has that been on for
my gosh,
20 miles?
I've been in the car with you where we literally got to the gas station as it hit 0, and I'm like, I can't.
That's perfect timing, right?
But even going back to, the desk jobs and stuff like that, you mentioned getting up and moving with driving. That's the same thing. I think you're supposed to move like 10 minutes of every hour.
Every hour, yeah.
Yeah, so, we're preaching on how to sit and stand correctly in your job, but also literally just walk to the bathroom and back.
I think that's why I like standing more than moving standing more than sitting. Because sitting, it's easy for hours to go by and not. But if you're standing, you're only going to be able to stand still for so long, and then you're going to find yourself kind of I need to shift my weight. You guys see me if we don't have anybody up there. I'm like I'm stretching.
Stresses me out. It's like moving everywhere.
Yes. So you're walking back and forth.
You out.
When you get to like moving, I'm like I feel like I should be following her.
I do pace
like
a lot. If we get a lull,
Mama duckling. Dr. Riley.
If we get a lull, I do. Our office is not very big, so I just pace up and down.
She paces.
I pace. I can't
sit still.
Can't sit still.
She's like a toddler.
Yeah. but yes, that I think is with standing, like your body's just naturally not going to let you stand for long periods without moving. Whereas sitting, you just, without even realizing it, you're just going to kind of start slouching and finding other ways to alleviate that those kind of aches and pains as opposed to moving. That.
So the one final tip, since we're talking about daily desk disciplines, the one thing, especially as we're heading into the colder months, is make sure you have water next to your desk. Stay hydrated. Like, it's not really an ergonomic thing, but, the ergonomics have a lot to do with how your muscles are engaging. And if you're not hydrated, your muscles are going to be sore. Like, they get, think of like crispy bacon versus flimsy bacon.
I like both, but
I like flimsy personally, but yeah, like if your muscles are dehydrated, if your skin's dehydrated, like things just stiffen up when they're dehydrated. So, making sure that you have plenty of water throughout your day is going to help your musculature engage. Just a friendly, public service reminder drink your water.
And even the chiropractic standpoint of the discs being healthy and stuff like that, it's called imbibition. That's how the water gets into the disc. So, the more water you drink, the more, lubricated the joints.
Yeah.
Muscles seem to be more relaxed. And then the discs between, each bone and the spine tend to get a little bit bigger as well, more cushion. So if you do have that, nervous system interference at one of those segments, hopefully by increasing the disc height, you can get a little bit of freedom in those nerves and maybe, you think better too. So
yeah, absolutely. So, well, I think we made it through the daily desk disciplines, and, some of the tips that might not necessarily be obvious, but hopefully helpful, especially the feet. That was a big one that I wanted to discuss. So, awesome. Well, we will see you at the next What the Health podcast. If any of this resonated with you, you can check us out on Turo, Turo, familychiropractic.com, and we'll see everyone at the next one.
Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to What the Health with Dr. Dan and Angela Toro, brought to you by Toro Family Chiropractic. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.whatthehealth.world.